All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here once again with Mr. Moran TV. And today we have our special guest, like we've been talking about this whole entire week, none other than Senadora Ana Caballero, Senator Caballero. Well, first of all, Senator Caballero, thank you very much for being here, for making the time to come and talk to our audience, and especially, here in the Central Valley. How are you doing, Senator?
I'm doing really well. It's really good to see you. Thank you for the invitation to join you this evening.
Well, thank you. And it's Saturday, and I knew there was going to be a very difficult time for you to be here because it's just a few weeks before the November 8th election in 2022, and I know you have been working very hard. Actually, I mean, I known you for years, and I am always see you working.
That's true. One of the challenges in being an elected official, from my perspective, is there are always things that need to get done, especially if you're going to have communication with people and meet with people. And this is probably the most active time is right before an election.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And then once again, you were running in the primary. Now this is the final stretch, and you have always been very active here in Merced County, but now with the new redistricting, can you tell us a little bit about your new district? It's not only Merced County. Before your district was stretching all the way from Merced County all the way to Salinas. And what about the new district?
Yes, the old district was two counties, all of Merced County and all of San Benito County, and then parts of well, it's the Salinas Valley, and then parts of Stanislaus County, Madera County, and Fresno County. What changed is that the district shifted so that it now is um, most of Merced. For some reason, they put the community of Delhi and that unincorporated area in with another district. So it's almost all of Merced. The same um, the same individuals in Madera County, and then which is mostly western part of the county, and then in Fresno County, West Fresno in the county, but also the city of Fresno, about 80% of the city of Fresno. So the district will be smaller, but it still contains 1 million people, all of it
Wow.
in the Central Valley.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, we're so grateful to have you here
Thank
for
you.
Central Valley. And so now, what are some, this morning and this last few weeks, as we go out and talk to people in the community, and they're asking, I mean, you've been to Livingston, you've been to Merced, you've been to all over the Merced County, but there's still people out there that have not had the opportunity to meet with you, and other than just going to your website, looking at your pamphlets and flyers, what are like, what would you say are the three main items that you think are the priority for this time around?
Well, what I do as part of the work as a senator, but also as a candidate, is I ask people if they would be willing to have a house meeting, and we've done it at different locations. It can be at their house, it can be at a hall, it can be anywhere that they want it to be, but to invite their friends and
Mhm.
neighbors, and give me the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation about what's important to people. And I've had over 20 this past year. We did them with through Zoom during the coronavirus time when we really weren't going out and getting together, and had about 20 during that period of time as well, all over the district. And the issues tend to be fairly similar. Doesn't matter where in the district you have these house meetings. It's good jobs, it's housing, it's healthcare, it's education. I mean, those are the issues people are concerned about. Now, people also talk about things like potholes in the street, traffic congestion, safety for their children to be able to walk to school. For a while, the number one issue was broadband access. People could not get on the internet and Zoom so that their children could continue to get an education and they could get business done. So I did a lot of work around that. And the other issues that I've information I've received from city council members and mayors is public safety. They're concerned about the ability to provide safety to the residents, whether it's fire safety or police safety. And it's interesting because when I meet in house meetings, that's not the issue people are talking about, but it's on the minds of elected officials. And so since they're responsible for that, I've done a lot of work around that as well.
Yes, I for the years that I have known you, I think if, or maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, you have been the one that started having these house meetings, even after the election, all throughout your time in the Senate. Most of the time, when those house visits happen, are only throughout or during the time prior to the election. But that is something that I have seen you doing even after the election, to listen to people, to listen to the residents, because, like you were mentioning, residents have different priorities, different concerns compared to other like local city council members. Was that something that you say you could say that you started, and now other people are doing too as well? And how has that been working out for you?
I think there are other people have started to do that as well, and I think it's great. Um, it's a model that really provides an opportunity for a conversation, the ability to sit down. A lot of the time, the hosts will make snacks,
Mhm.
and there's nothing that makes people feel more comfortable than to sit down and have some snacks together. And sometimes it's a meal, sometimes it's lighter. And the key here is this: is that what I tell people is that a lot of times people think that all you need to do in politics is vote for someone. And that's really important. That is our obligation when we live in a democracy. You have to be active and you have to vote, because um, otherwise, uh, that our democracy doesn't work well. And so it's not enough just to vote. You can get me elected, and many times people say, "Okay, go take care of the problem," but I can't do it all by myself. I can get things in the budget, um, and and I've done that. But then it takes most of the time it takes city council members to say this is our priority too. And so for example, I have people will ask me, "What are you doing about the homeless situation?" And what I tell them is that that has been a number one priority for me. It is unconscionable and cruel to have people living on the streets and not to have the ability to give them an option to get off the streets and to live in safe, decent, and affordable housing. Many people are suffering from mental health issues, drug and alcohol addiction, and some just had a crisis in their life and end up on the streets. We need to help them. But, and so we put billions of dollars in the budget, but the local community has to decide where they're going to house people and how they're going to do it. And one of the programs that we made available is a program that is called Home Key that
Mhm.
provides grants to cities and counties to buy the old motels that are in the community and to fix them up as housing units. They've all got restrooms in the room. And so all you
Mhm.
have to do is create a small kitchen. And then you can create it's like an efficiency unit and get people off the streets immediately. Now, the city may not take advantage of that, or the county. Um, And if they don't, then the money will go to the big cities because they're ready. They want the money, and they've got a lot of staff on board. So it means I have to work with the 27 cities that I represent right now and let them know the money's available, and push the county board of supervisors to work with their local cities as well, so that we're all working together at the state level, assembly members and senators, at the local level, city council members and mayors, and also the board of supervisors that control what goes on in the county. That money is also available. It's flexible and can be used for mental health and drug and alcohol counseling. So it takes all of us in order to get things done. And so I encourage residents to be more involved and to give our office a call if they're interested in a topic like housing or public safety or education, good jobs. Water's been a huge issue, and we have worked really hard to bring resources to communities that are struggling with water quality and wastewater treatment problems.
Yes.
We need to use every drop of water over and over.
Yes. It's actually water has been a big concern, not only all throughout California, but I think primarily throughout the Central Valley because of the farming communities and how the Central Valley, well, along with many other parts of California, we not only provide food to the rest of California, but actually to the rest of the country and to other areas around the world. And without water, the way water has been not as available as before, and having to have restrictions for farmers, that trickles down at the end of the day to the residents because food ends up costing a little bit more because if the farmer has to raise their cost raises, then they have to raise their prices as well. And then at the end of the day, the residents, the consumers are the ones that have to pay for it. When it comes to water, it's a really big issue. How what do you think that we need to do? I know probably the last time that we in California that we built or that California built a dam for the to hold water was probably about 50 years ago. Is there any work around building a new dam somewhere in California, or has that been a conversation at the state level?
Well, it's a constant conversation. The problem is we need to move past conversation and get things done. There's a large dam that is being proposed north of the Delta. I want to say it's up in Colusa County, and that dam is in its I think environmental stage where you're doing the environmental analysis, and it's partially funded. There are also some smaller dams, one in Stanislaus County and one in I want to say it is Santa Clara County. Actually, it's above the San Luis Reservoir. It's above and behind the San Luis Reservoir. It's a small reservoir. Both of those are very small. They're not going to solve the water problem. The proposal for the dam in Fresno, the Fresno Kern County area, Temperance Flats, is I don't think is moving, and that was a decision of the local water agency, and I think part of it was that the water was going to cost so much money that it was not economically feasible. But here's the deal: is that we can store water not only above ground but underground, and there are examples both in San Diego and Los Angeles of those municipalities or those water companies. It's not necessarily the municipalities, the water companies making the investment to clean their wastewater to a tertiary level, which is it takes a lot of energy to do it. But what you do is you clean it of anything bad in it, and then you can store it underground with the other water that they're using. The beauty of that is they're taking water that would normally be dumped out into the ocean because it doesn't serve any good purpose. They're cleaning it up and then they're reusing it, which is why I'm really committed to doing the same thing in the Central Valley. But that's not the only solution. We can clean our wastewater, but we also have communities that can take seawater and desalinate it and taking the salt out of it and use it because it also has been cleaned. And so California has to look at other countries and what they're doing and adopt some of those policies so that we can have water independence. And what I mean by that is that we need to make sure that when we hit a really bad drought, we're in the middle of one of the worst droughts in California history, recorded history.
Hmm.
So because of that, the water availability is just not there. And so we need as many options as possible. So when times get tough, we have enough water to sustain what we've already built. And that includes all of our communities, and that includes our agricultural production as well, because people were put out of work
Yes.
in the valley because there was no water delivery. And that means that they're not working, and that's not good for our local economy either. So it's going to take new technologies. And if I could take just a second real quick, I had the opportunity to go to Los Baños,
Hmm.
and there is a tomato production facility there called Ingomar, and they partnered with a tech company from Australia. Australia has had terrible droughts just like California, and they figured out a way to be able to create sources of water that are innovative. And this company is taking the water out of tomatoes, and because when you put the tomatoes through a process where you're putting them in cans, you take the water out of it, and they have purified it and put it in bottles. And now
Wow.
what they're doing is they're putting them in big tanker trucks and delivering them to some of the communities that in the valley where their well has gone dried. So those communities don't have water right now, and this tomato processing facility is providing them with water. It's a great innovation. It's very unique and exciting, and I see more technology coming that will help us. It's not going to help us immediately. What that water is helping us immediately, but some of the improvements we need to make will help us in the future.
Yes. So in the last few weeks, probably the last month or month and a half, I have seen how some of the communities within your district and in the Central Valley have been receiving funding, or I see the pictures of the big checks for different projects throughout the Central Valley. Can you name some of them for people out there that are not familiar with some of the work that you have done, and how those projects and that funding has will be benefiting those communities?
Yes, I'm really excited because the past couple of years the state budget has had extra revenue, and I've been able to really prioritize uh, the issues that communities have raised with me. Um, One has been public safety, and that's in fire service as well as police services. So for example, in Huron, if you have a heart attack or there's a car accident, you're hurt in a car accident, and you called 911 for an ambulance, it takes 30 minutes for that ambulance to come from Colinga. In that 30 minutes, that may be the end of you, right? And so the company was willing to put an ambulance in Huron, but they needed the building for it to be housed in, and for staff to be there. And so I was able to get, I believe it was $4 million for Huron to be able to build that particular facility so that they have ambulance service in their community for the first time ever. Was also able to get some public safety dollars for Colinga. Their police department has a need to grow, and they wanted some compute. They have a need for computers and phones for the officer, as well as cameras in the business district to help the businesses keep themselves safe. By the same token, Mendota had a need for a new police station. They were in a very, very small space, and I was able to get them $3 million. And the community of San Joaquin, they had seen a real spate of gang violence in their community, and they wanted to build some resiliency in the community, and I was able to get them some money as well. I recently received a text from their city manager, and I was really happy to receive that text because he told me that one of the uses that they put the money to is to have a school resource officer at the high school, and they were able to intercept a young man who brought a gun to school, and well, actually, a young man who had threatened to bring a gun to school. They went to his house. He had a gun. He had everything he needed to be able to use it, and they feel like they were able to keep the students from harm in their community. You know, those are the kinds of stories that are really near and dear to my heart. There are also some of the resources I've been able to get in the community help. In the city of Madera, they needed to build a trunk line for their wastewater plant because it was 50 years old and they were having leaks. And if you have leaks, the state will fine you. And so whether it's water or wastewater, I've been able to work on that and to, make a difference in the community.
And then
a fire training center for not only for Merced, the city of Merced, but also for Los Baños.
And then I also seen something that you were able to work on some funding for some of our local colleges and our local university here in UC Merced. What was that about?
So there's this partnership. Thank you for asking for that, because there were two grants. One was a grant to the Labor Center at UC Merced, and they're studying the condition of working people and working families. They just did a study on farm worker health during the pandemic. That's pretty important. But UC Merced and Fresno State have created a partnership. One partnership has to do with creating or building a medical school in the valley, and they're working with UC San Francisco, and the UC San Francisco gives them the education, and then they come over here and they get their medical training in the valley. We're hoping they stay because we really need doctors that can provide good treatment. I was able to get them some money through a bill that I did, which had to do with reducing vaping among teens. But also, they are in a partnership, UC Merced and Fresno State, as well as the 8 community colleges in Madera County, Merced County, and Fresno County, to train the workforce of the future using a skill set that they're going to need in agriculture. And what we know is that there are more work is being done through mechanization, bringing in equipment that takes the place of the workers. So that what we need to do is make sure that workers are not displaced, that workers have an opportunity to transition into a new kind of job. And that means the ability to look at the ability to run the machinery, the ability to fix the machinery, so that's mechanical aptitude, and the ability to read the information off of a screen. And so it's all the technology that's necessary in order to do these new jobs of the future. But it's also taking the skill sets that farm workers have and giving them credit for it, so that if they're going to earn a certificate in mechanics or in the different applications, creating the programs or running the programs, that they're honored for the work that they know and that they do, and that they are part of the creation of the program. So it's going to be, we just celebrated I believe it's an $87 million grant from the federal government, and you put it together with the $30 million from the state that I was able to get them in the budget. There's going to be the ability to do retraining in the valley like we've never seen before. And what's really good about it is the wages will be better, the working conditions will be easier, and we will be able to create the technology that the rest of the world can use when they're growing crops as well. So we're going to be a tech center for agriculture, very much like the Silicon Valley is the tech center for the world in many ways. So it's exciting. It's exciting for the valley.
So yes, definitely. I seen the work firsthand, and I think me being an educator, uh, education is always in the back of my mind, and
Mhm.
how we educate our youth and prepare them for to be a well-rounded citizen. But they also need those opportunities to be able to continue their education, um, along with water and all of the other main issues. Where is education, yeah, on your list?
It's very high. I will tell you that it's my belief that education is the key to moving into the middle class. It's the key to be able to provide a roof over your head and food on the table, and to feel comfortable that you don't have to worry about how you're going to get bills paid. The data is very clear. If you get a high school diploma, you'll make more than if you don't get a high school diploma. And if
Mhm.
you get a college degree, whether it's a 2-year college degree or a 4-year college degree, your income is better and your prospects are better. It's easier to find a job. And so what we want to do through these programs is create an opportunity to say, look, it doesn't matter what your educational level is right this minute. We can improve it, and we can give you the ability to earn certificates and degrees in a field that you know already or that you may enjoy, and we'll do it in a way that um, doesn't put you in debt, and that is will pretty much guarantee that there's a job for you in the end when you get finished. We want to make sure that they're practical programs, and that there's a benefit for taking that program. And we met yesterday to talk about the program, and there were some farm workers that were involved in the discussion, and they were very excited to hear about their ability maybe to drive some of the equipment that's coming into the fields right now that they don't have a chance to work on or to work with because they haven't been trained.
Yes.
And that includes women farm workers as well, which is
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yes, that's great. So someone's asking a questions. They have a proposed when we were talking about water, and I think this is related to farm wells, like private wells. They have a proposed charge for property wells. Are you familiar with this proposal in regards to a particular charge? I'm not sure. I never heard of that for having wells or private wells in their property, or maybe that would be new wells that might be. coming in the future?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with a charge on existing private wells. It may be part of a regulatory process that's happening at the state level, and I can look. We can do the research on it so that if they want to give our office a call, we can give them more information so that we'll be very accurate on that. What I do know is that this year there was a bill that would have prohibited any new wells if the region was in an overdraft situation. That bill did not get through the legislature. That and I did not support it because I didn't think it was well thought out, and it didn't mesh with some of the other requirements that we've put um, on it's the GSAs. They're the groundwater
Hmm.
agencies that are in
Sustainability.
control of how much water gets taken out of the ground. And there's a difference between how we treat groundwater, which is in a well, and there's also a difference with surface water, which is what comes down a river.
Hmm.
And they're treated differently because when you're taking water out of the ground, um, we start to see subsidence, which means the land starts to fall if you take out more water than you put back in. And because we're in a drought right now, if you're taking water out of the ground, then it's not getting replenished. There isn't enough rain. There isn't enough water coming down the streams. So anyway, well, I'm more than happy to look into that so that
Yeah,
we
so
can.
that is actually a good question. And then in reference to your offices, I know you have an office here in Merced. Is there another office that you have somewhere else other than Merced?
Yes, we have an office in Salinas.
Okay, so an office in Salinas, an office in Merced, and then obviously your office in Sacramento.
Yes, yes. And we
Okay.
were going to open an office in the southern part of the district close to Fresno, but the COVID hit. And
Hmm.
so we didn't end up opening an office down there. I expect with the new district that there will be an office in Fresno as well.
Okay. So
I have
now,
to, I have to win that first.
and we're very sure that you will be successful, and that way we can have that other office in Fresno. Now, with the elections just a few weeks around the corner, November 8th is the date. Now, with everybody receiving their ballots on the mail, I don't know if you heard about the situation here in Merced County with some areas of Merced having the old districts, and people in the old districts were still receiving the ballots for the new district, and the people in the new district were not receiving the ballots that they were supposed to be receiving. Um, what's your what's I don't know what's your opinion, because I've been hearing a lot of different opinions, and all of them seem to be thinking about the same thing, that someone's vote is not going to count.
Mhm.
Someone's vote is going to be thrown out. Now, the latest that I'm hearing is that those people that received the wrong ballot or that did not receive a ballot are going to be receiving a second ballot that is going to have a number 2 on the envelope. But not everybody is on Facebook. Not everybody's listening to the news on TV or the newspaper, and especially if there's a language barrier, not everybody is going to be able to figure out why they got a second ballot, especially if they know that if they use a second ballot in any other election, in any other instance, they would it's a crime
Mhm.
because they would vote twice. So what's your take on this?
Well, I'm very, very concerned. I've never seen so many problems with elections, um, ever before. And I've run for election a number of times. Um, in the primary in the county of Fresno, um, they, you get your ballot and it has the candidate statement in it. In
Mhm.
order for my candidate statement to end up in the ballot, then I have to spend a lot of money. And so I did. I spent money to end up on so people can read what I say, what I believe in and what I think. And it didn't end up getting printed.
Wow.
Why I don't know, but it's now in Merced there's this problem, and I'm really concerned about it because um, you're absolutely right. If people aren't paying attention, they may have already filled out the first ballot,
Mhm.
and they may have already sent it in. And if it doesn't match up with what their real district is, how are they going to know to do another one? And you're right, you're not supposed to do two, right?
Mhm.
So I just think that we need to figure out why the elections department can't um, can't manage the only job they have. That's all they have. That's all they do, right? Um, they're not responsible for health care of county employees. They don't go out and clean up the parks. They just do elections, and those elections don't come very often. And so I'm just really worried about it because I want people to feel confident that their ballot counts and that it's when they vote that they're they're exercising the right that I
Mhm.
said in the beginning. It's part of our democracy, and I encourage everybody to vote if they're eligible to vote. But this has me worried.
Yes, and actually, yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, I was um, reading some comments on social media in regards to this concern, and now the problem is, and one of the comments that struck me was, regardless of who wins in one of those elections that are being affected directly and indirectly, I do believe that campaigns like your campaign, it's also being affected because some of those people are either going to vote once or not vote at all or vote twice, and they don't know. At the end of the day, they're not going to be sure if their vote really counted and if the person that ends up winning really won. There's still going to be the doubt that whether or not that person was able to win the right way or by mistake. So either way, even if it's fixed, I think that at the end of the election, there's still going to be that doubt. And I personally, I've been thinking about. I'm not sure what agencies are from the state are involved, but I do believe with some previous concerns in regards to corruption in some communities, I do believe that the Department of Justice needs to get involved and kind of take a look at this seriously. But yes, it is a big concern, and that is exactly why many people that have not voted before, and they're like, well, why should I even vote if my vote is not going to count? And then this happens. So yes, it is very concerning.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, and here's what I think has to happen. I think that the county elections department, the head of the county elections department, has to assure us that the issue has been resolved and that they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that every vote that's cast is counted and is counted appropriately. And that if any ballots come in that are the old ballots, that those people who voted using those old ballots are notified immediately
Mhm.
and are provided a new ballot so that they can vote and know that their old is being destroyed and the new one is the one that counts. And there are ways to do this. It can be done. I just haven't heard, to my satisfaction, that there's a strategy and a plan. And maybe it's early, so we'll give them time to get it fixed.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've never heard of this many problems or these two problems.
Yeah.
For example, one is that you just forget somehow to print up what what should be printed, and the
Yeah.
other, which is that you don't check that it's the right district, and that you make the adjustments that need to be made so that people are voting for for the individuals that are running in their district, right?
Yes.
So I think there's a resolution. I believe it can be fixed, but we're going to need to hear that it's under control. Otherwise, you're right. We ought to have an outside investigation as to how these happen and how we can ensure that they don't happen in the future.
Yeah.
Because I do want people to have confidence in the elections that we do locally. They're really important.
Yes, actually, and this is just my own personal opinion. I do believe that the local elections are probably the most important ones, because a lot of the things that are decided are that affect us quicker and faster and more direct are the local decisions. Even though the state and the uh, countrywide decisions do affect everyone, but sometimes we just take that for granted that the local elections are not as important. And we all know that the Latino population is probably well known for not going out to vote. Very low percentages, sometimes around the 12, 18%, 12, probably not even above the 20% of the registered voters. What could you say to people watching right now, and invite them to give them a reason to vote, regardless of what everything they have heard in the past?
That's a really good question, and I think part of what I've learned is that uh, our system of government is complicated, and that many times people don't understand. Not just Latinos; it's people in general don't understand the difference between local government, and that's cities versus counties, and then state government and federal government. And they don't understand the two major party system. And they know what a president does or a governor does, but then they don't know what city council members and the board of supervisors do. I think it's really important to understand that everything that goes on in your daily life, whether it's the traffic in your neighborhood, it's children walking to school, it's what kids eat in their at the school cafeteria,
Mhm.
and whether they get fed at all. All of those things, whether there's streetlights in your neighborhood or parks that are well kept up, libraries that are open at night when your children may need to check out a book or do their homework. All of that is something that the elected officials are responsible for, and to include whether you have clean and safe drinking water. And so,
Mhm.
if any of that is important to you, and I think it probably is, then you have to vote, and you have to inform yourself of who is talking about the issues you're concerned about and who the individuals are that are running in your community. It takes work. There's
Mhm.
no question about it. Ask questions. Ask your friends. Ask people that you trust, maybe your coworkers, who they like and what they think about the elected officials. And if you want, get on the websites and take a look at what are the issues that the elected people or the candidates are talking about, and are they the things that you're concerned about? Because it's a little bit like a little research project. It's important to know, it's important to vote, and your vote will make a difference in the quality of life in your community and the quality of life for your children if you have children.
Yes, and actually, right now, you did mention something very important that I had not thought about asking or talking about, and I want to say thank you, and I want to and I appreciate the work that you have been doing, especially when it also among the many other things that you have done and you've been working on, and then this one specifically related to school lunches and what we need to do in regards to. I'm an educator. I'm a middle school teacher, and some of my students don't eat at school. And I ask them, "Why are you not eating at school?" And they're like, "Well, because we just don't like the food. Sometimes it's just not very attractive, and it doesn't taste good. It's frozen, and sometimes it's still cold, and it's probably not the best. And can you tell us a little bit before we end our conversation, a little bit of something recent that you did in regards to how schools should be considering local ingredients and more fresh ingredients to be able to use them at our school lunches?
Yes. So one of the things that I realized, speaking to farmers, but also um, to um, to food processors as well as to nutritionists at the school, the ones that make the decision as to what to feed children, is that a lot of the food that we're serving kids in the schools, it comes from foreign countries.
Mm,
The fish sticks that are served in school lunches are caught by Russian fishing vessels out in the ocean, and they're processed and sent to California for our kids to eat. A lot of the food is from China,
mm,
and it's not of the highest quality, and it's not of the highest quality. There are no worker protections, and that it doesn't they don't have the same regulations about the use of pesticides and other chemicals like we do in the state of California. And so when I realized that there was a need to make sure that the school lunches are improved, but also that they're buying products from California and helping us to sustain our economy, I realized that there was an opportunity to change the way we do things. And so I passed a bill that was just signed by the governor, and it requires the school districts to buy American. And
mm.
since California produces so much of the fresh fruit, vegetables, nuts, and processed food as well in terms of canned fruit and those kinds of things, it's going to benefit California, and I'm real excited about it because there's no penalties on the schools for not doing this, but it does give them the requirement that they consider the local products and buy locally.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. I wish we could be here for a couple more hours, but I know that you have a lot of work to do, and it's a Saturday, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna just be watching TV.
No.
You still got a lot to do on your campaign. There's a few questions, but I think they're more related and probably um, uh, when it comes to voting, and there's a comment, or I guess there was a comment. We had a councilwoman here in Livingston say that it's not right to tell or converse about who to vote for. And this is very similar to what unions do. They make a recommendation on who their choices for as far as candidates are, and I do believe it is my understanding that is not illegal to make recommendations, but it's just rather probably an opinion. We need a bill. There's somebody else, Letty, ZP. We need a bill that holds elected officials accountable for their actions in harming our communities. Okay, I don't. Well, I guess that's we can add that to your list of many other things that I'm sure you already do have. Mirla Hernandez says, "Thank you very much. Thank you for doing this." Um,
Oh, you're
so.
welcome. I'm always
um,
happy to come back, and we'll plan it in the future as well.
Yes, and then I'm sure I would love to be able to host a house meeting, a house visit in our communities. Whether it's in Merced, Atwater, Livingston, Gastine, or any other area in within your district, and be able to have and continue those conversations and kind of hear the residents' concerns one more time and see how your office can help guide or probably uh, put something together for the benefit of the community.
Happy to do that. That'd be great.
Yes. Any last comments? It says yes, please. Okay. I think they really like that idea, and I'm
Great.
sure eventually your office will be able to put something together. Any last comments? I know that we planned for about 20 or 30 minutes, and it's going to be already almost an hour. But then that means there's been a lot of good conversation and a lot of good questions and a lot of great information. Any last comments before we end our conversation?
Just a big thank you. It's always great to be able to sit and have a conversation with you, and I always feel like you're engaged and interested in everything that's going on, not only in the city of Livingston but all over. And so I appreciate. Well, let me also say thank you so much for your commitment to educating children, because it's one of the most important things that happens in our communities, and that it's an area that's of interest to me. So if you want to invite me to come and visit your classroom one of these days, I'd love to do that as well.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then I will take uh, your proposal, but I'll wait until after the election, just to be able to give you a little bit more free time. And but thank you very much, and thank you for everyone watching. And please feel free to share this link. This is also on YouTube, and the more informed that we are, the better. Thank you very much once again, Senadora Ana Caballero, and we'll see
Thank
you
you.
again.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Bye bye.